Good afternoon. On behalf of the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Elijah Muchima, I would like to start by welcoming you all to this press briefing, which seeks to share important information about Zambia's position on the 15th session of the Conference of Parties, COP15, to the Convention of Biological Diversity, CBD. From the outset, I wish to thank the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity, Her Excellency Mrs. Elizabeth Maruma Mrema, for inviting my country, Zambia, to this very important conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the President of the Republic of Zambia, for sending me here to represent the country at this high-level segment of COP15 and to lead the Zambian delegation at the conference. I also want to thank the People's Republic of China and United Nations Development Program for supporting me to participate at the conference. Last but not least, I wish to thank the Canadian government most sincerely for hosting this conference and the CBD Secretariat, which has worked tirelessly in the preparations for the conference. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, as you are no doubt aware, parties to the convention are gathered here in Montreal, Canada, to agree on a new post-2020 global biodiversity framework that will be implemented over the next decade, which will seek to halt and reverse biodiversity loss to achieve a nature-positive world by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the latest 2019 Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, 75% of the global land surface is significantly altered and over 85% of wetlands have been lost. Further, an average of around 25% of species in assessed animal and plant groups are threatened, suggesting that around 1 million species already face extinction, many within decades, unless action is taken to reduce the intensity of drivers of biodiversity loss. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, Zambia's biodiversity components are facing similar threats that are being seen at the global level. The country is endowed with abundant natural resources and a fairly rich biological diversity. Some of these include 480 forest reserves, 20 national parks, and 36 game management areas. Furthermore, Zambia has 8 wetlands of international importance, commonly known as Ramsar sites, under the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of International Importance. And approximately 4 to 9% total surface area of Zambia is covered by wetlands. Wetlands are unique, productive ecosystems where terrestrial and aquatic habitats meet and play a critical role in maintaining many natural cycles and supporting a wide range of biodiversity, including some endemic and endangered species. Apart from their global significance, these wetlands are also very important at national level as they comprise the major fisheries of the country. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, regardless of the contribution that natural resources and biodiversity provides to the gross domestic product of the country and offering livelihoods options for the local communities, as well as contribution to the provision of ecosystems, goods, and services, there are a number of threats that threaten their existence. Unsustainable exploitation of natural resources in Zambia is evidenced through deforestation and forest degradation, land degradation, encroachment of protected areas, unsustainable fishing, advent of invasive species of plants and organisms, loss of biodiversity, unsustainable production and consumption patterns, and uncontrollable human settlements, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I am aware that the negotiating teams have made recommendations on maintaining 30 by 30 protected area by each country. I wish to state that Zambia supports the maintenance of 30% of protection by 2030. 40% of Zambia land cover is actually already under protection, covering national parks, forest reserves, wetlands, fisheries, management areas, to mention a few. Zambia acknowledges that ecosystem restoration is extremely important to the country and supports an ambitious target for restoration that addresses all ecosystem types. Zambia supports the inclusion of ecosystem restoration in the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize several threats to biodiversity in Zambia, such as drought and land degradation. Therefore, Zambia commits to strengthening biodiversity resilience to climate change, desertification, and land degradation through ecosystem-based approaches. In this regard, Zambia has and will continue to restore degraded ecosystems such as wetlands in order to restore their optimum level of providing goods and services while enhancing the climate change adaptation of local communities that depend on them. We recognize the global funding gap and therefore support the establishment of a global biodiversity fund and additional funds to least developed countries. Zambia also encourages parties to COP15 to adopt a strategy for resource mobilization. With regard to capacity building, Zambia supports the inclusion of the appropriate access to technologies, scientific cooperation, and capacity building in awareness, uptake, and mainstreaming of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework into economic development sectors. Zambia has put in place the modalities for regulating access and promoting benefit sharing accrued from the utilization of tangible genetic resources and traditional knowledge. The challenge in access and benefit sharing is that the country requires further capacity building in regulating and promoting benefit sharing from the utilization of tangible genetic resources and its derivatives such as digital sequence information, DSI. In conclusion, I wish to request that African countries and least developed countries are quickly assisted to strengthen their readiness to implement the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework to contribute to halting and reversing biodiversity loss by 2030. I thank you all for listening. Where she go?